Yashoda Ram Lakshmana Hanuman ki, Shri Gauranitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So thank you so much for coming to this evening's Bhagavad Gita class. So we're discussing chapter 6, verse 24 of the Gita. And you could bring it up on your phone on Red Base as well. It's on the internet, so you can bring it up. But before I start, I'm gonna recite a short prayers to seek blessings from Guru and all the devotees present here and online, that I may say something that's useful. So starting off with that. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamshta Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pete Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Piye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, in light of time, I'll recite the verse line by line, and please repeat. And I'll do that 3 times. And then I'll go into the translation purport and then the explanation. So please repeat after me. Sa nishchayana yuktevyo Sa nishchayana yuktevyo Sa nishchayana yuktevyo Yoga nirvina chetasa Yogo nirvina chetasa Yogo nirvina chetasa Sankalpa prabhavan kamams Sankalpa prabhavams kamams Sankalpa prabhavams kamams Tyaktva sharvan asheshata Tyaktva sarvan asheshata. Tyaktva sarvan asheshata. Manase vindya kramam. Manase vindya kramam. Manase vindya kramam. Viniyamya samantata. Viniyamya samantata. Viniyamya samantata. So now the word by word translation. Please repeat after me. Sa, that, nishchayena, with firm determination, yoktavya, must be practiced, yogaha, yoga system, anirvina cetasa, without deviation, sankalpa, mental speculations, prabhavan, born of, kaman, material desires, tyaktva, giving up, sarvan, all, asheshata, completely, manasa, by the mind, eva, certainly, indriya, gramam, the full set of senses, viniyamya, regulating, samantataha, from all sides. And now the translation in purple by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Purport. The yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently persecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Ustaya nishayat haryat tattat karma pavartanat sangatyagat satu vritte sadbhir bhakti visidati. One can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in the activities of goodness. This is from the Nectar of Instruction, verse 3. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow, who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal, so the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard about it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs lest he himself would take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially bhakti yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job, but if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. So, we've seen so far in chapter 6, Krishna has described from verses 10 to 32, he describes a practice to perfection in yoga. He defines how one will achieve perfection when one is practicing yoga. Now in verses 24 to 32, he describes the realization of Bhagwan. So starting off at this verse. So looking at the verse, breaking it up, so it says, Sa nishtayana yoktevyo. One starts practicing with determination. Sa nishtayana. Nishtaya means determination. Like in the Upadam Shamrita, it said, Ustaha nishtaya dhairyat. So sa nishayan yuktavyo. With determination, they engage. Yoga nirvana chetasa. Nirvina means rejected. And Srila Prabhupada said, deviated, so rejected, or deviated. Nirvina chetasa. One does not let oneself get deviated. So when one engages in devotional service, in practice of yoga in general, it could also refer to devotional service in the ultimate sense, sa nishchayat, with determination. And what does determination mean? That means there is no deviation. The nature of the mind and the nature of the world are such that they will take us off track, but we bring ourselves on track again and again. That is the essential process of bhakti yoga, or any yoga in general. Yoga nirvina chetasa. And what will we need to do this? Sankalpa bhavavan kamams. There are many material desires which come up. Kamams is material desires, and sankalpa is resolution to enjoy those material desires. There is sankalpa and there is vikalpa. Sankalpa means I want this. Vikalpa means I don't want this. Sankalpa manifests in the Karma Kanda section. That is, why I want to enjoy, and to enjoy I will do this. So the difference between sankalpa and karma is sankalpa prabhavan kamams. What is means is because there is karma, there is desire to enjoy. This resolution of wanting to enjoy is a bond of lust. What is significant is Sri Krishna is not saying give up lust, because giving up lust will take a long time. Lusty desires may come and they may steam our mind, but we decide not to act on that. In Srimad Bhagavatam, also in the 7th canto, when it is discussed how different anarthas will overcome, Ashankalpa Chet Kama, which means by making firm resolutions, one can break free, one can get rid of karma. So actually this is a very inspiring verse, because in this verse, Krishna establishes the general principle of success. In fact, this principle can be applicable to any area of our life. No matter what we do, if we want to achieve success, we have to be determined. So say, for example, I have a goal of wanting to run the marathon. To run the marathon takes a great deal of training, right? That every week I'll increase the kilometers I run. But what would happen if I give up in the middle? I don't want to train, you lose sight of your goal. You really want to run the marathon, but if you're not training, will we achieve that goal of wanting to live that dream of running the marathon? No, right? So this is one example. So to achieve anything in life, even in school, to pass the exams, if we didn't study hard, would we pass the exams? No. So there's an endeavor behind any effort, right? So for those of us who are not determined and our intelligence is many branched, for us who want to pursue this goal and that goal and ultimately be lazy and not pursue any other real goal, nothing will happen. So Krishna here formulates this general principle of achieving success in regards to spiritual practice. You see, the whole 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is not meant to be followed literally. The 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is mainly to discourage us from engaging in Astanga Yoga. Krishna is not teaching us Astanga Yoga in this chapter. He's more or less saying, see what it means to be engaged in Astanga Yoga, see how difficult it is, and if you think you could try it, try it. But if you follow my advice, then, he says, Yoginam api sarveshu madgante nantar atmana shadavan bhajate yomam se same yukta tamamataha. He says, my advice is that the best of yogis is anyways one who always thinks about me. So ultimately, Krishna brings Arjuna to the point of bhakti yoga. So the whole chapter is not for us to follow, and one may say is not for us to not follow, as one may say conveniently, that this particular verse is also not for us, right? But this, the verses in this chapter are to discourage us to follow Astanga Yoga. So Krishna says, go to the forest. Who will go to the forest? Would any of us go to the forest? Nobody would do this. But even if you did go to the forest and perform Astanga Yoga, there are many difficulties. You'd have to fight your own mind constantly. You'd have to fight your own laziness. You'd have to sit in one place and look at the tip of your nose. Would anyone want to spend their whole life looking at the tip of their nose? No, right? We'd rather sit in front of we could, one thing that we can do is watch television all day. That's not a problem. But to look at the tip of your nose is difficult. And Krishna explains this in detail to prepare Arjuna for his answer to this. My dear Krishna, I cannot do this. It is easier to catch the wind than to stop the mind. Because basically the whole point of yoga, as in Yoga Sutra, is to stop the activities of the mind and to make it completely still. To make it totally, completely still. But who could do this? Nobody can. Especially in the modern day age, where there are so many causes of agitation. When Arjuna said this to Krishna, Krishna gave his approval. He said, yes, Arjuna, this is difficult, and this was Arjuna, who was so much more capable than us to control his mind than all of us in Kali Yuga. He was really determined that he could control his mind. He said, no, I can't do this. But still, despite the fact, the whole chapter should not be taken as something we should not follow, because Krishna says certain things that are common principles of any spiritual practice. One of these principles that this verse highlights is that we have to be determined no matter what, because ultimately this is the way for us to express our sincerity. It is not that a little sparrow can dry up the ocean away. A little sparrow can do it for a very long time and take a little bit of water out of the ocean and place it somewhere else and everyone will just laugh at her. And in the same way, within our heart, we have a notion of material desires. Have you noticed this? This ocean will never be dried up. We fulfill one desire and another desire turns up. It is unlimited. It is said here that sankalpa is the activity of a mind, and sankalpa basically means that we have some liking. We like something, we see something, and we like it. Krishna explains here, and in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that from this liking, karma comes within our heart, and karma means lust. Karma means practically unbearable desire to obtain something. I may like something a little bit, and then immediately, when I concentrate my mind on this object or my liking, I would develop a very strong, a very powerful desire to obtain it. This is called karma. Srila Prabhupada says that anyone who practices yoga, who practices any sadhana, will meet some impediments. There will be some difficulties, there will be some problems. We could expect this. We are doomed to meet with some problems of the past, and he explains in a few words of what the source of these problems are. He says, the source of these problems is material desires within our hearts. Karma or lust, the desire to control and the desire to more or less establish oneself as God in a limited area. Every one of us has this problem, karma, and karma is coming from lust. Lust is coming from sankalpa, which means some kind of liking which we have, and the likings which we have are coming from our karma. In our previous life, we perform some actions, and these actions create some tendencies within our heart. These tendencies are called vasanas, and vasanas means desires or likings. For example, somehow or another, most Indians like spicy food, right? But if you give the same food to Russians, they won't be able to tolerate it. This tendency has come from a past life or karma. So somehow or another, there is a liking to different things for different people, right? But this liking of vasanas, these tendencies which are guiding us in this life, create a very strong desire within. And when these strong desires are pushing us, we are basically becoming slaves of our desires. As throughout our life, we're trying to fulfill our desire, which has no end. When we start practicing spirituality, the same desires will stand on our path. We want to go to God, but we also want to get our mature life together. So many desires will be there, and they will be tearing us apart. We may want to go to God. You know that if I'm closer to God, this will be better. But at the same time, I feel a very strong pushing, which will take me away from that. I want to conquer God. I want to follow the 4 regulative principles. I want to do some sadhana. But at the same time, there will be so many other forces which will take me away from God. We all want to go to God, but we also want to get the best of the material things. Like, we want to get, for example, very common. We're all after the latest phone, the latest iPhone, the latest Tesla, or the latest car, to get a big house so we're materially comfortable. But these things also agitate our minds by different desires. Actually, material, like the phone and the TV is an invention actually to create more desires within our heart. So modern civilization actually doesn't help with this, because you create more and more desires. Okay, you may have a very good car, but then 5 years later, you might get flying cars, and I want that flying car, and then something else happens, and then you're like, I want this now. Yeah, you're never satisfied with what you've got, right? So, and people in this modern day and age, they cannot even imagine how to live without desires, because they make their lives interesting and meaningful. But if we only fulfill our desires, in the end, we may not be able to fulfill all our desires, as our desires are like the ocean. There is no end to it, and so nobody is able to fulfill all desires to become happy. Rich people have more problems than poor people, but rich people have money and they could fulfill all the desires and are still not happy. Poor people at least have some hope. I will get some money and then I will become happy. Rich people do not even have this hope. They have money but cannot become happy because they think, I'll keep on getting more and more money and then I'll fulfill my desires and become happy. But this is not the way to become happy. And these desires are unlimited. And when people try to follow some spiritual practice, it means they have to control the desires and reduce them. But how can we do this? We do this in the same way the little sparrow was determined to dry up the ocean to get his eggs. This was not possible. We try to conquer our desire, but there is 10 more waiting for us. Desires or karma was illustrated by Ravan. Ravana is basically the manifestation of lust or karma. Ravana had 10 heads. When someone would cut off one head, it would multiply and reappear. The same thing applies to our desires within our heart. You try to conquer one desire, and then 10 more arise. You conquer the 10, and then another 100 arises. It just doesn't work. So you try so it's very, very difficult, right? But Krishna gives us a hint here of how to really achieve success on the path of sadhana. The only way to achieve success is to become determined. Determination is the key, because as in this little fable, it's explained that when you are determined, you basically show to Krishna that you are sincere. Not that you will conquer over anything. We are helpless. The first step in practice of bhakti yoga is surrender. When can you surrender? You could only surrender when you feel you are helpless. If you feel that you're strong, will you surrender? No. You're strong. Why should you surrender? If you feel you have a strong ahankar, a strong false ego, that I can make it, then we will not make it, as we will not surrender to Krishna. So the first point of bhakti yoga is to surrender. And surrender means to feel helpless, but at the same time, with the spirit of helplessness and dependence of God, we have to develop determination. Because determination is an indication from our side that we want to achieve the goal and go back to Godhead. And if we show this determination with the spirit of dependence on God, then God will help us. So this little story is in the Puranas. It explains that when the sparrow was trying to dry up the ocean with its beak, all the other sparrows were laughing and saying, "Look how foolish he is." But then Narada Muni heard about this. So Narada Muni, as we know, is the original spiritual master. He is teaching us bhakti. So he came and he started looking, and he saw this little sparrow, and he saw that everyone was laughing at her, and then he also started laughing. Sometimes the spiritual master has to puts us through tests. He asked the sparrow, "What's your hope to clear the ocean? How are you going to achieve this?" And the sparrow replied, "Get out, don't stand on my way. I will do it because what else should I do? I've lost my eggs." She had this goal very strongly established within her heart to get her eggs back. She knew that she needed these eggs, and there was no meaning to life without her achieving this goal. And therefore she said she has to continue to try to clear the ocean of water. So when Narad Muni saw the sparrow's determination, he became compassionate and said, "Okay, now I see you are sincere." Because our sincerity is measured by our ability to see the goal. So sometimes people ask, what is sincerity? How can I understand if I'm sincere or not? Sincerity means that I see the goal and I pursue the goal. So when this little sparrow was trying this, Narada Muni went to Garuda and said, "You know, a little relative of yours is taking this impossible task. Can you help her?" And Garuda replied, "Of course, I'll help." And he came to the bank of the ocean and said, "My dear ocean, do you want me to dry you up? I could do it in no time. I will just splash my wings and you will dry up. Do you want me to do that?" The ocean said, "No, no." The point Prabhupada is making very cleverly here is this beautiful saying that God helps those who help themselves. Ultimately, we have to understand that it is not by our own endeavor that we could achieve success. It is God who gives us success. He is the doer. He gives us the results. From this very beginning, Krishna establishes this point that we should not think that we're the cause of our results, but we should act and that He is the cause of the result. But still we have to really sincerely try to achieve the goal of going back to Godhead. Clearly see this goal, and when we do this, we'll achieve it eventually, no matter how difficult or impossible it may seem. This is a very important principle, that we should see the goal and pursue the goal no matter what. We have an ocean of desires. We have so many weaknesses. We are so feeble and weak, and this world is really horrible, and so many temptations are there. Still, we have to be determined, and Krishna will help. Krishna will give us his help at the end, and we have to be sure that ultimate success depends on him, and this means that we try our best, and Krishna is there to make sure we achieve spiritual success. Sometimes people don't understand this principle. Sometimes people are trying to speculate and trying to pursue so many other directions. But actually, the only point of spiritual practice is to be determined to go back to Godhead, and when we do this, we will achieve success. This is guaranteed. So what does this illustration demonstrate? Our conditioning are like the ocean. This material existence itself is considered as an ocean, and our conditions are also oceanic. Deep within those conditionings is the love of God. Just like the bird had eggs, which are taken away by the ocean, so deep under this vast ocean, there is a potential of love of God. Love for God, which is misdirected now to other things. So for us to remove our conditioning is impossible. But if we just keep practicing devotional service, we get purified. So like every mantra we chant is like removing one drop from the ocean. It is one moment we're trying to live purely. So keep practicing. Just by every moment when we're trying to love Sri Krishna, we're trying to serve Sri Krishna, it's like removing one drop from the ocean. So there's, in light of this, there's this Shikshashtakam, that the prayers that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited. It's a very beautiful prayer, and he says, Cheto darpana marjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam shreya kaiva vachandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam. The translation goes, glory to the Sri Sankirtan, Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. So, actually, what this process of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra does is, right now, our heart, the mirror of our heart is very dusty. It's full of dust, and that's basically our conditionings, like karma, artha, lobh, mad, matsavya. So all our previous conditionings from our previous life, right? So when we chant sincerely and perform a devotional service, we're basically clearing this dusty mirror of the heart, so that the soul could revive its original identity, which is servant of Krishna. So the same analogy goes. If you have a really dusty room, you clean the room. When you try and clean the room, it almost feels like nothing's happening at all. The dust keeps resurfacing, right? And therefore, this is very similar to a practice of bhakti. So we think, I'm chanting, I'm trying devotional service, but yet, I still have these bad habits, have these anarthas. Is it really working? But actually, that's the first thing. Initially, the first step the Bhakti Yoga process does is, it's important to be able to identify that you're doing something wrong for you to correct it. And so that in itself is progress, right? So, now you've identified. So it's still resurfacing. But then you have to be determined like the sparrow. Keep cleaning the room, right? And eventually you'll get clean, because it is getting cleaner whilst you dust the room. So, like this, we have to be determined in our practice of Bhakti Yoga. And we will come through difficulties, but we have to keep on trying, So it is by our sincere endeavor we could attract the mercy of the Lord. And when you attract the mercy of the Lord does miracles. Actually, the Lord performs these miracles through the spiritual master. Garuda here represents the spiritual master. Then one is able to become free. One is be able to become rescued, liberated from conditioning, and reinitiated with the original love for Sri Krishna. So when we try, Krishna will send help. And he does this through devotees and the spiritual master. And the spiritual master will take us out of this forest fire of material existence. And the whole idea is to be sincere and determined and to follow the spiritual master's instructions. Not whimsically, but to believe, to have faith that what the spiritual master is asking me to do will help me go back to God. And if he could do this despite the ups and downs in life, then we will achieve success, going back to Golok Vrindavan, back to Godhead, where we'll be happy forever. So does anyone have any questions, comments, or any corrections? We've got 2 minutes before Gaura Arati on this verse. Any questions, comments, corrections? No? If not, we will round it off there, and there's Gaura Arati in 2 minutes, so please stay for that. It'll be followed by Mahaprasad. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Face this way now, but curtains will open. आरती को शोभा नावे तत्वाने जग मन लोभा नावे तत्वाने जग मन लोभा दखिनी ताईचा आन बमे गथ धारा सखीने ताईचा आन वामे गथ धारा निकते अद्वैताशिनी वासा चतुर्धारा निकते अद्वैताशिनी वासा चतुर्धारा भूसियाचे गौरचा आन रत्नसिंहासने भूसियाचे गौरचा आन रत्नसिंहासने
आरती करे ना ब्रह्मा आदि देवगण आरती करे ना ब्रह्मा आदि देवगण नर हरि आदि को अमृत लाया हरा हरि आदि को अमृत लाया संजय राम मुकुंद भासु घोष अधिकारा संजय राम मुकुंद भासु घोष अधिकारा शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे कर काला शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे कर काला मथुरा में गंगा बजे परम रसाला मथुरा में गंगा बजे परम रसाला बहु कोटि चंद्र वदन उज्ज्वला बहु कोटि चंद्र वदन उज्ज्वला गाला केशे बाना माला कोरे जलमाला गाला केशे बाना माला कोरे जलमाला शिवा सुखना राजा प्रेम गतदारा शिवा सुखना राजा प्रेम गतदारा भक्ति विनोदा देते